Hello and welcome to a chat all about can you teach dance without a qualification? So I am live on Instagram right now and I'm also recording this to put on my YouTube channel. So there will be recordings of this in both places. Now, why do I want to make a video about can you teach dance without a qualification? Well, first of all, it's a really controversial topic in many ways, and I think that it's helpful to address controversial topics just to put some different perspectives out there. I want to start this video by saying that whenever I'm talking about anything, I'm not saying that I am objectively right. Obviously, I believe that I'm right, but I'm a human being, and like anyone, I am capable of making mistakes or getting things wrong or having most things right, but then needing to update or change things. So let's just start from that place. I'm going to share my opinion. I'm going to share some of my experiences. I'm going to share also ways that I think that you can really be in integrity as a dance teacher without needing a qualification. So many things to say on this topic, and if you guys are watching live, feel free to ask questions. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment once you've watched it. So let's start here. Qualifications are amazing for certain things, and I personally very much celebrate qualifications. You may already know that I have a dance degree, I have a master's degree in dance anthropology. I do also have a teaching qualification it's a TEFL qualification, teaching English as a foreign language. It's not a dance teaching qualification, but it was a 5-week intensive, in-person, everyday, full-time teacher training qualification. That being said, I do not have a dance teaching qualification. I do have 16 years of teaching experience in dance and also English. So I want to start by celebrating qualifications for what they are good for. If you want to really get to understand a very specific style, a very specific technique, a very specific methodology, then qualifications are wonderful for that, and certificates. But then also not the only way. You also may gain a lot of knowledge about certain styles or methodologies through actually doing them yourself, and perhaps through actually taking exams yourself as a dancer, but maybe not necessarily as a teacher. Teaching is another whole different subset of skills, which doesn't necessarily go with being a great dancer, doesn't necessarily make you a great teacher, and also being a great teacher doesn't necessarily make you a great dancer. Quite often they do go together, but not always. Okay, so let's just start by saying that this topic is very nuanced, and I personally don't anymore. I used to like one size fits all answers because it kept life very simple, and as a perfectionist I wanted just to know the rules for everything, and I just had to follow it. But what I've learned as I've gained more experience in life, as I have been on a journey of finding more inner peace and also of more service to other people rather than serving my own ego, is that everything is nuanced. Everything is nuanced, and so often there is not one yes or no, right or wrong, good or bad answer. In fact, there hardly ever is. And so I really feel like this is the same with the teaching qualification thing. It depends what your goal is. So are teaching qualifications good or bad? It depends what your goal is. It depends what specific knowledge you feel like you would like and you would like to pass on, and the ways in which you would like to do that. Let's just take a very, very simple and easy example in the dancing world, and let's talk about Royal Academy of Dance exams. If you are someone who would like to teach other students to take Royal Academy of Dance examinations, then yes, you need to go and you need to do the qualifications, you need to take that full training to make sure that you're in integrity with the way that they teach, with the things that they want for the exams, etc., etc., etc. Okay, So I personally have been through the Royal Academy of Dance examinations. For example, I did my RAD intermediate, when was that now? Was that 4 years ago, I think? But I do not teach Royal Academy of Dance syllabus, okay? So I have that training, but I don't specifically teach it. These are just some ways that you can make sure that you're in integrity with the things that you know and not crossing any lines. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody has to have a qualification, because there are certain things that you don't even get given a qualification for, and I'll go a little bit more into the details about some of them in a moment. But let's just start with that. Qualifications and certificates can be celebrated and they can be honoured at the same time as excellent teaching can also be honoured, whether or not it comes with a certificate. And the most important thing to know is, who am I providing this for, and what are their objectives as my dance students? What is it that they want from me as a teacher? What is it that I'm providing? And do I need a certificate or do I not need a certificate to provide that for them? Okay, that's the important question, and that is where there is so much more nuance to just a yes or no answer, right? So I just want to take it, like, zoom right out. You guys know I like to really look at the macro of things, and let's just remember that dance, to participate in dance did not used to require a dance teacher. Okay, you could participate in dance without needing a teacher. And remember that dance used to be participatory from all of the community for most of our ancestors, for much of our evolutionary history as humans. So let's just remember that that is actually the history of dance, and that the way that we do things now has been created for very specific goals. And a lot of dance, not all by any means, this has changed a lot in recent years, but there are still quite a few dance classes which are set up with the purpose of training future professional dancers. Now that is a very different thing to if you want to provide dance classes which are experiential, which are more community based, or which are for people who don't want to then become employed as a dancer. These are very, very different things. And it's my personal belief that we don't have to be forcing everyone down the same type of dance path just because it's the one that gets people to becoming professionals. That's wonderful if that's what you want to do, but it's not the only way, okay? And I really feel strongly about that, and I feel that I think it would be wonderful if we did have more dance opportunities, more dance classes for just the general public, general people who would like to explore dance but maybe don't necessarily want to dedicate their lives to it, or maybe don't even want to put the pressure on themselves that they have to get really good at it. Maybe they just want to take some dance classes because they enjoy it, because they want the experience, because they would like to be in community with other people, because they would like to move their body to music. Whatever it is, it's my personal belief that we can and we should provide more opportunities for people to dance. And now in many of those examples that I've just given, it won't be necessary to have a specific dance teaching qualification in order to do that. Now, it may also be something that you would like to do for you, and it will certainly, we always learn something from every experience that we choose to undertake in life. But what I'm saying is that it's not a must, depending on what your objectives are for your class and depending on who you're serving and why. Okay. So what is a teacher? Let's also think about this. What does it mean to be a teacher? Now, on the really basic level, I think we all understand that teaching in part is communicating specific knowledge or specific skills to other people. Okay, I think we can probably all agree on that. But I think there are many different aspects that also can come into teaching which are extremely important also. As a teacher, you are also a facilitator. As a teacher, you are also a space holder for people. As a teacher, you are responsible for, people's well-being. As a teacher, you, in some ways, if you want to be, can also be like really a cheerleader in that person's life, not only just teaching them, you know, specific technique or that kind of thing when it comes to dance. Now, that's wonderful as well. And what I would really love for us in this video is to remember that when I'm talking about one type of dance teaching, it does not negate the other kind. All of these things can harmoniously coexist, okay, if we allow them to, and if we understand that just because people are teaching dance in one way, it doesn't take away from the way that you are doing it in your classroom, okay? And we need to stop having this kind of fear around if one dance teacher is doing something that makes me wrong, or if I'm doing something that I prefer that makes them wrong. Now, that being said, the first question is to get really clear on what is the purpose of your dance classes, or what are the different types of objectives that you are fulfilling in your dance classes. Is it for people's enjoyment? Is it for people's fitness? Is it for people's improvement? Is it purely technique? Is it artistry? Is it musicality? Is it community? Is it coming together to just share in the energy of that space? Is it there for personal exploration? Is it that whatever? All of these are valid reasons. Do not let anybody tell you that the only valid reason to dance is to improve. Now, improvement is great. Again, you guys know me. I have many tutorials on my channel, so you know that I personally love improving, and I love helping other people to improve, and I think that's probably a deep, deep reason why I do love teaching. But it's not the only reason to dance. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be one of the reasons to dance. You can dance just to enjoy it. You can dance just to be in community with other people. You can dance just to explore what a movement feels like in your body. These are also valid reasons. I'm reading a comment from Instagram. Totally understand. I'm an adult ballet dancer and I feel very understood and inspired with your videos. Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Yeah, so this is why I like to talk about it, because I think it does resonate with different people, just knowing that you are allowed to use dance in the way that feels good for you. And same thing for teachers. You're allowed to teach dance in ways that feel good for you with the following in mind. So number one, as I said, just being clear on what am I actually providing here for people, and making sure that I'm being very, very transparent about what I'm offering. Now, I never say, just as a personal example, like I never call myself a qualified dance teacher, even though I do have all the qualifications that I previously stated. I don't have a specific dance teaching qualification, so I don't call myself that because I want to be transparent in my marketing. I never claim to teach like one very specific dance style. I just say I teach adult ballet because I know that even though I know what I've trained in and I know what my styles are, you know, if I was going to put a specific label on that, I would really want to make sure that I was doing that, really honouring that tradition, which is why I don't, but that's why I don't. And that's also okay. Also, don't let people push you into the fact that, no, you have to slot yourself into a pre-existing box. The boxes are great for people who want to go into the boxes. It's wonderful to have continuation of traditions, of dance lineages, of dance histories. That's wonderful. But it's also not the only way to do dance, and it's not the only thing. So I think that's really important. Just acknowledging what do I do, who do I serve, and just being very transparent and honest about that. And then, number two, taking into consideration all of the skills and expertise and experiences that you do already have that might not have come with a qualification. And we usually underestimate ourselves, especially people who have trained in dance, because we have usually been made to feel like we're not good enough in a lot of different aspects of our life, not only the dance studio, but also in school and different places, and also sometimes, especially as women. So we've got to watch out for that, the thing that always tells us we're not good enough and we're not ready yet. That's kind of another topic which I will explore at another time, and also in my academy, which I'm going to be talking about at the end. But let's just pause on that point for a second. But just remember that you probably have a very harsh inner critic somewhere, most of us do, telling you that your experiences don't count and your skills aren't good enough yet, and that the expertise that you do have doesn't have a certificate attached to it, and therefore it's not of interest to other people, and that's just not true. As long as you're being very open and transparent with who you are and who you serve, that's the most important thing. Now, point number 3, this is crucial. This is crucial. The safety of your students. The safety of your students, I almost should have put this as number 1. As a dance teacher, the safety of your students is paramount. This is the most important thing. Now, I can't go into like very, very detailed explanations here of what exactly that means, because it'll be different depending on what style you're doing, how many people in your class, what level it is, etc, etc, etc. But at least making sure that for you as a dance teacher, your students' safety is paramount, that is your first priority, is going to really make sure that you can teach with integrity. Because whatever happens after that, okay, as long as your students are safe, you're not doing them any harm. Now, yes, there are other things that can be improved, there are other things that we can talk about, there are other things to do with like, okay, but is this actually the best way to like explain that, or could I have done it in a more efficient way? There's different things around like efficiency and communication and things. All of those things can be honed as well, can be practiced. But the first thing, making sure your students are safe, if you've got that down, that is number 1 to being in integrity as a dance teacher, I believe. And let me go deeper into this, because I think this point is so important and it can't really be overstated. Taking your students through a safe class means that you as a teacher have to know your level and your limitations, so that you don't lead people further than you can actually hold them and teach them. Okay, so and by the way, that doesn't mean that you have to be a super advanced dancer to teach, to be able to teach dance. It means that if you are not a super advanced dancer, that the people you're teaching are a lower level. But that doesn't mean that that class has any less value, right? It's just knowing and being very clear about who are the people that you are able to take on a safe journey, because you have done it yourself and you also understand, you have like an embodied ground understanding of what that means also inside the human body, okay? And preferably not only inside your body, but you have an understanding also of what that means in other human bodies that are not your own body, okay? And that does take work, and that does take research, and that does take practice. But again, not all of those things are necessarily going to have a certificate at the end, okay? So, safety. To me, there are 3 main types of safety. There's physical safety, there's emotional safety, and there's social safety. And it's my job as a dance teacher to look after all of those 3 types of safety. And let me tell you that there are dance teaching qualifications which only focus on the physical safety aspect. Now, there are other wonderful dance teaching qualifications that focus on all 3 of them, and let's celebrate them. And even the ones that are only focusing on the physical safety, okay, that's fine. And then you can also additionally make sure that you are also looking after the emotional safety and the social safety of your dancers during class, before and after as well. As soon as they're in your space, whether it's the changing rooms, or even the foyer or the waiting area or whatever, they're in your care. So what I've seen though is that some institutions who would basically say no one should ever be allowed to teach dance if they don't have a qualification are some of the same institutions that do not look after the mental health of their dancers. Again, this is not all of them by any means, but there are a few, right? And I think perhaps we can think in our own minds of examples perhaps that we know of where that is true, where actually challenging someone physically, and depending on how you do that through your use of words, through your use of energy, can actually do emotional damage to the dancers, to the students. And so what I want to do again is to just focus in on all of this nuance. Just because you have a qualification does not mean that you are a very, very safe teacher. Just as not having a qualification doesn't mean you're a very, very safe teacher either. Having a qualification may mean you have more technical knowledge and skills, which is great if that's one of the aims of your classes. It's really important. And also, just for all of us, we need to know the basis of all of the techniques of whatever dance styles we're teaching. Like, we must know the fundamental basics and the ways to do those safely, and we must honour them as part of the physical safety part of our class. We must make sure that if we are teaching a very technical style, that we are putting emphasis on the technique if that is required. But knowing also what is the difference between safe technique and perfect technique, because those two things are also different. But at the same time, also taking into account that we must have the emotional safety of the students in mind and the social safety of the students, which obviously just also means keeping a check on, like, what is the energy of this class, what is the vibe in this class, what can I as a teacher do to facilitate more of a collaborative rather than competitive, or more of a welcoming rather than judgmental atmosphere in my classes. Okay, so there's so many things that I could say on this, and again, I will go much more into this in my academy, but let's leave it at that for now, but just so that we can have those things in mind. The safety is paramount, but the good thing is that if you are working with adults especially, then it's not the same as working with children, right? Like, children are more vulnerable, and also you maybe, it's not just children, but there are also other adults who are vulnerable because of different reasons. And I think it's very important to know who you're serving, and I would suggest that if you are someone who doesn't have a specific dance qualification, that teaching adults who are not vulnerable, people who are responsible for their own lives, people who make their own decisions, people who choose to be in your class, people who pay their own money, people who are aware of their own bodies, and all of these types of things, that also can bring you a certain amount of empowerment as a teacher and encouragement to also empower your students. So you don't have all of the responsibility, but you as a teacher have the majority of the responsibility, and just understanding where that is. Reading another comment. Hey, you are such a good dancer. Thank you so much for your great videos. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. It's so kind of you. Okay. So, let me talk about the academy. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I am launching in May Aligned Dance Teacher Academy. So this is a program for people, both dance qualified and without qualifications, but with the necessary experience, expertise, knowledge, etc., tools, etc., who don't necessarily want to follow the traditional dance teacher path. Now again, that traditional dance teacher path is wonderful. We need it. We can celebrate it. It's awesome. But at the same time, remember what I said at the beginning, that I believe there are more people who want dance experiences who don't necessarily actually want to be taking classes in those kinds of environments or in that kind of teaching methodology. And that's also fine. Doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it bad. It's still great, it's still wonderful, it's still training the future dancers of the next generation, and we can celebrate that. But at the same time, I know that there are people out there who have beautiful movement experiences to share with people who feel scared, who feel like they're not ready, who feel like, how can I take 2 or 3 years out of my life right now as an adult to go and study full time to be a professional dance teacher? Well, my invitation is that you don't have to do that as long as you've got enough personal experience and self-awareness and skills and safety and all of those other kinds of things in mind, that actually you are ready. You are ready. And, you know, I will just repeat again that I have taught dance for 16 years without a specific dance teaching qualifications. My students come back again and again. They recommend me to their friends without me even asking. People love my classes, and that's because I'm in integrity as a teacher, even though I don't have a qualification. And so that's a huge part of the academy, but the academy goes into many, many more things, including mindset coaching, and also this big part that's just to do with setting yourself up as a business owner. So I'm not going to give any more away for now. I'm just going to leave that there. There's a little sneak peek of what's coming in May. Obviously, I'll be talking a lot more about it in the future. If you have any comments or questions about this episode, let me know what you think. What are your personal experiences? I would love to hear from other people who are already teaching without specific dance qualifications. Who are your people? Who are your students? What are you teaching? What's the kind of feedback you've been getting? If you feel comfortable to share, because I know also lots of us kind of hide because we feel embarrassed. We feel we're going to be judged. We feel like the people who hold the qualifications are the gatekeepers for what it means to be a dance teacher. But again, let me just come back to reminding you all that it's not the only way. Like, it's a great way for specific objectives, but it doesn't have to be the only way, and it's not the only way. Okay guys, thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!